been told that being quiet means weakness. As part of you, believe it. Atticus Finch from To Kill a Mockingbird walks into a courtroom knowing he was going to lose, but he doesn't raise his voice. This is the Literary Tailor Podcast, where we talk about great books and even better conversations. I'm Zach and the host of this podcast. I also run a YouTube channel, and I recommend checking that out for more discussions about books, stories, and everything in between. Today, as I mentioned, is one of my favorite characters of all time, and that is Atticus Finch from To Kill a Mockingbird. My channel, including this podcast, talks about a lot of things, such as masculinity, hope, identity, and even fear. And I feel that Atticus Finch fits this to a T, and he is why one of my favorite characters, because he holds almost all of these pillars to the core of himself as he walks into a courtroom, knowing that this case will be the most difficult one he ever has to endure, because he has to protect and be a lawyer for a black man, which in this time was a very, very difficult thing when the society around you is very racist. So for Atticus Finch to walk into this courtroom, this is like walking into the Coliseum, where he and his family can even be harmed because of this case alone. So let's get into it, and let's talk about Atticus Finch and To Kill a Mockingbird. When we first meet Atticus Finch, he's the father of two children. He's a lawyer, but he isn't a loud and eruptive, bold lawyer. He's quiet. He knows how to, play the game, if you will. But he knows that he doesn't have to be loud to get that authority that he needs. He is a lawyer in Alabama during the 1930s. And if you know your history, this time for black folks wasn't really a good time. Very a racist town. Atticus Finch is assigned to defend Tom Robinson. Tom Robinson is accused of doing a heinous crime. He is accused of raping a white woman, something that often is a death penalty for a lot of blacks in this time. Just even looking at their way could mean violence to them. So for Atticus Finch to acquire this case, to acquire this defendant, he knows this is a case that he'll never forget, and it's a case that will alter his future and his family as well as the town itself. He knows that the verdict is very much against him. He knows this case is pretty much stacked against him. Even without the evidence, people in the jury know that Tom Robinson is guilty just because he's black. Atticus Finch knows this. He knows this to the T. He knows that he's fighting a very losing battle. He doesn't storm into the courtroom with a proud energy, a flamboyant, or a powerful energy. Just a quiet demeanor. He knows he has to do the right thing, and that is to defend Tom Robinson, because maybe Tom Robinson is innocent. And just because he's black, people already assume he's guilty. But Atticus Finch knows there's something more to this case, and that Tom Robinson is innocent. The crowd sees the man, and almost immediately they are attacking him almost. Even his family, knowing that this is a waste of time. They should just have the casing done, almost like witch trial almost. Have it done in as quickly as Tom Robinson comes in. Scout sees a man. Scout's the daughter of Atticus Finch. Scout sees a man burning from the inside, holding the fire so steady it lacks its stillness. Stillness isn't a weakness, it's a refusal to spend your energy for performance. And Atticus has this quiet authority, this stillness to him that he knows he can actually win this case. And I'm gonna try to win this case, even at the cost of his own life or his family. He's gonna win this case for Tom Robinson. Think about his thought real quick. When was the last time that you chose stillness and paid for it? Atticus paid for the stillness because the town turned against him from the start when he chose to defend Tom Robinson. He almost had the plague. He was hated. And I'm not just saying like hated, he was hated. Like, I'm sure people could get away harming him, even his family, and get away with it. They probably would. The real question could Atticus win? The question is, what happens to a man who refuses to become what the world needs him to be? That's a question I want you to ask as I get to the next part of this podcast. Surprise, surprise. The verdict comes in and Tom Robinson is found guilty. Atticus knew this was the verdict almost all along. It doesn't really matter if Tom was even innocent. He was guilty just for being black. And just an easy scapegoat in a way. Because if you haven't read the book itself, you know that Tom Robinson is very much innocent. There was someone else that was even more guilty, but he wasn't even looked at because he had almost a standing in this society, I guess you will. So he was able to get off free, if you will. Well, I guess you can say at least for a little while. He loses like a man, Atticus, who already decided what the decision, the verdict was going to be. He loses the case. But that wasn't the thing that made Atticus an interesting character. The black community saw this and rises from the balcony. Not because he won, but he showed up and actually defended Tom Robinson, a black man. He almost receives a standing ovation from them. Even though he couldn't save Tom Robinson, or he couldn't save the people themselves, he still receives a standing ovation. And this shows that you can lose, but you can still win in the most important areas as well. He lost the case, but he gained a better perspective, a better character development, because he's able to help some people that a lot of people would not even blink an eye to help at this time. You can lose, still be the man you need to be. And Atticus Finch, despite losing this case, still remained the same Atticus. Well, maybe not completely the same, but he remained this powerful, this good figure that is a good role model for Scout and his other son. Well, Scout's a girl. But he remains this powerful figure for her. And she is able to grasp that how important her father truly is on this case, because he was against everyone from the start, but he still continued to fight the pretty much losing fight. I guess if you had to rate the chance of Tom Robinson being found innocent, it was probably 99%, and pretty much 99% guilty. Probably .000.1 found innocent. So, but Atticus Finch still fights this case. He loses, but he wins in a lot of ways that might not be noticed, but he still wins. Everything in this book so far, stillness, losing right, the standing ovation. Something he doesn't even ask for. He still receives it. A scene most people forget, though. There's a moment that Atticus Finch picks up a rifle. And what he does with it changes everything. As you can tell, I have a cat. She decided to join the podcast for a little bit, I guess. She might end up leaving. Who knows? But anyways, the ordinary afternoon for To Kill a Mockingbird is a odd afternoon. Rabid dogs stagger down the streets. The sheriff, the same sheriff that kind of doesn't even like Atticus Finch, obviously for the court reason, shows up to Atticus Finch's house where his children, Scout and Jem, reside, and hands him a gun. Scout and her brother are confused at this because why would they hand her father a gun? Something that she doesn't even know he even knows how to use, or he doesn't have this perception of being able to use it. Atticus takes his glasses off, raises the rifle. Bow! One shot. Dog drops dead. We see that Atticus Finch is a good with the rifle. He has a good shot on him. Even the sheriff claims that the deadliest shot in the county goes to Atticus Finch. They don't. Jem tells Scout to not mention this to her father, but the brother knows and understands that something most adults never fully grasp. The most powerful thing a man can do with power is choose to not to do it, or it is chose when to not to do it. And Atticus Finch chooses not to use his power. Real protection doesn't announce itself, it waits. And when it's needed, one shot, done. First, the end of this novel, which I would say is a masterpiece in a way, because it actually is one of my favorite books I ever read. I'm glad that my school actually assigned this book. I think it was like one of the first books of this class was To Kill a Mockingbird. But anyways, at the end of the novel, Scout stands on Boo Redley's porch. If you don't know who Boo Redley is, well, he's a strange kid, or a strange adult, if you will. I'm not going to dissect this character as much because this podcast episode is mostly directed for Atticus Finch. She sees Scout, sees the whole street from his point of view, Boo Redley's, for the first time. You never really understand a person until you climb into their skin and walk around it. She didn't get it at the start, Scout, but she gets it now. Because she lived it. She lived through trauma and pretty much everything that almost this short life that she had so far had to offer. With people around her, whether it be her father Atticus or Boo or pretty much any character in this novel. The arc isn't the trial. The trial is not the most important part in this book. It's a girl learning to see, but watching a man who never stopped trying. And this is where my respect for Atticus, because he remained a true father figure for Scout and her brother, even at the darkest time, when even neighbors were actually planning on attacking the children themselves. She still remains positive and loving towards her father through the end of this book. You don't have to be Atticus yet. You just have to be Scout, actually, and just pay attention and learn how to use. Atticus Finch isn't a hero because he won. Obviously, he lost a lot of times in this book. He is a hero because he decided who he was before the verdict, before the crowd, before this trial even starts, before the cost was clear. And he never renegotiated. He never turned his back on Tom Robinson, even for the moment. Of course, he had his doubts. He had his wondering if this trial would have an impact on him and his family, which it did. But he still continued to defend Tom Robinson. That's the work. Not being perfect. Deciding and holding a decision. If this episode landed on something for you, I want to hear from it. Rather jump on my YouTube channel and check out those videos, or comment below, or even comment on me through any social media, because I have a lot of social medias. Because I want to hear more, because even though this podcast is launched, the conversations don't ever have to stop. Even if you hear this episode a month from now, I want to hear your conversations, your thoughts on Atticus Finch, of Scout, of Riley, or even To Kill a Mockingbird. I want to hear about it. What does masculinity feel like for you? Whether you're a male or a female, what does masculinity feel like in your body? What does it cost to be quiet for you? What does it cost to be the quiet man among a lot of people who want to yell? What does it cost for you? Leave a comment below. Let's start a conversation. That's why I started this podcast and built this, because I want this conversation to spread as far as it can, because we all love books in the end. We all love these stories that have a huge impact on us. Even at stories like To Kill a Mockingbird, where many of us have read a long time ago, but still have an impact on us even today. Whether you read To Kill a Mockingbird when it came out, or you just started picking it up and just wanted to discuss this a lot more, because that's what books offer us, a form of discussions to have with each self, and also with each other, and also with our own selves. How does this book mirror my own life? And for me, To Kill a Mockingbird does this brilliantly, and I am glad I picked this book up when I did. Well, I was kind of forced to, because I was school and everything. But of course, if you want to learn more, I also have the literary fitting, where I actually assign a 3-book reading plan for anyone that has just a mental issue. Of course, I'm not allowed to give out mental health. I'm not authorized to do so, but I can help guide you to the books that helped me through a lot of tough times, whether they be depression, grief, or just pretty much anything. I will help you. The link is below if you want to learn more about this literary fitting. Again, I am Zach, and this is the Literary Fitting, or the Literary Tailor podcast, where we have great books and even better conversations. Until the next podcast, happy reading, guys.